All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another WNBA off-season video. In this video, we're going to talk about the WNBA draft lottery that is only 2 days away. We're going to talk about some of the prospects. We're going to talk about the WNBA expansion teams and what prospects will be hanging around for them after the lottery. We're going to talk about some WNBA news that just broke a couple hours ago as of me recording this video. And yeah, so if you like what I say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment down below. And if you like the vibes, consider subscribing. So we're not going to do too much of a deep dive on these prospects. We have a couple college players that have played, I think, maybe like 4 or 5 games now. We have an international player that I know nothing about, but a lot of people seem high on. And we have some news, some New York Liberty news. The coaching search is ended for them, but we'll talk about that at the end. um, I do want to hop into the draft lottery and what teams are hanging around here in the top five. So let's jump into it. We have the Dallas Wings projected to get the #1 pick. We have the Minnesota Lynx, who have the Chicago Sky pick that was acquired in a trade. So they are projected #2 right now. We have the Seattle Storm, who have a pick from the Los Angeles Sparks. So they will be at 3. We have the Washington Mystics at 4. Um, that's their own right out pick. They own that pick. And then the Chicago Sky have a pick from the Connecticut Sun that they acquired in a trade. And then you have Portland, you have Toronto, Portland, Golden State, um, Washington again, Indiana at 10. And yeah, so the let's see. I just pulled up the more easily accessible, we'll say, draft lottery odds. So the Dallas Wings sit right now. This is out of 1,000, so a chance out of 1,000. They have a 420% chance, quote unquote, chance to get the #1 pick. The Minnesota Lynx from the Chicago Sky have a 261% chance. The Seattle Storm have a 167% chance. The Washington Mystics have a 97% chance, and the Chicago Sky from the Connecticut Sun have a 55% chance. I'm just using percent because it sounds better instead of saying 420 out of 1,000, I guess. Um, Looking at these teams, well, my first thing about this is one of these things is not like the other, in that the Minnesota Lynx have no business being in the top 5 of this lottery, but they made a smart trade. They got the Chicago Sky pick, and now they're here and they're sitting around this 5 range. Um, do they need a one of these ladies in front of you? We'll go down the line here from top left, AZ Fudd, middle left, Flage Johnson, um, bottom left, Olivia Miles, bottom middle right, I guess, would be or middle of your screen in the UCLA jersey, Lauren Betts, and then I'm gonna absolutely butcher this name, but um, Awar, Awa, Away, Fam, Awa Fam, the Spanish pro player. Um, do they need any of these players? I I don't think the crazy thing is to say no. I don't think they do. I think the smart thing to do would be to trade the pick, but we I'm gonna operate under the assumption that the CBA will be done by now. Will be done by when the draft happens, so league business can continue as usual on schedule. If you get the #2 pick, or if you get 3 to 1, if they get the #1 pick, you just take a player. You just take the player. It's the #1 pick. You can just take the player. Um, if you land anywhere from 2 to 3, I think you trade the pick. There's no need to go get AZ Fudd or Olivia Miles, or we're just gonna call her Fam. Um, there's no need for that. If you fall around, let's say 4 to 5, right? And this is around the range where you could get um Flage Johnson, who I think is more of a complementary player. Um, I think she's very complimentary. I think she's gonna have a good WNBA career um, as a number two. I think Flage is one of those players. She's won a national championship at the college level. I think once you get her in a WNBA system, get her to learn the system. She should be a quick learner. She'll understand her role. She can have those moments where she can score the basketball really well. I don't think she's the number one. I think putting her on the Minnesota Lynx as a number three essentially and letting her work her way up to being a number two is a good thing. That's where I stand on the Lynx having a top might be the number one, probably a top three pick. Um, I think that's where you should operate around is you get 2 to 3, you probably trade the pick, try to get something else, try to get an established player because you are in your championship window. You get the number one pick, you take the player. You get 4 or 5, you take it. You take anybody from that you really want. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. You have Latson here. You have a bunch of you Kiki Rice here, also on UCLA with Lauren Betts. Um, and it's the after maybe after yeah after like once you get out of the top 10, it gets a little iffy. It's more development players, but you have Sarah Williams from from UConn. Is she in her senior season or is she? I don't I don't know if she's in her senior season or not. It doesn't say it here. Um, she might go back to school. I think this is her senior season though. I think it is. So you have Sarah Williams, who's interesting. Um, yeah, let's go back to the teams that actually deserve to be here. And when I say deserve to be, I mean teams that were actually bad and like they're still developing a culture and they need something um, different, or they need another piece to make the difference. Dallas, I have been a huge proponent of Dallas drafting a big, whether that be Fam, or whether that be Betts, um, both middle of your screen. The thing about well, there's three things here. There's three lines of thought here. If you're the Dallas Wings, there's a bunch of lines of thought here. Is you desperately need the number one pick. You desperately need the number one pick to make any difference in any lateral movement up the chain, up the food chain. You need the number one pick. Um, or attempt to trade for the number one pick. There's also that wrinkle. Um, there's the one where my train of thought is you take a big, regardless of who it is, you take a big. You take a center slash power forward. Those are the players that win MVPs in this league. Those are the players that are the central hubs of teams. Guards don't win championships. They help you win championships, but they, over the course of history, of the last 5 years, 6 years, you need a dominant big to win a championship. One. Two, you take Betts. I'm a big Betts fan. I like Betts a lot. I don't think she's I think she's more complete than Fam. But I think her being an American born player, I think her being more, from what I've seen, physical, she needs to learn how to play a different brand of defense. But I think not knowing defense in college isn't a bad thing. I think moving on to the next level and learning that defense is better than ever learning a college defense because WNBA defense is so much different than college. They play a lot of drop at UCLA. They play a lot of where she's backpedaling to the basket and baiting the guard or the wing into meeting her at the rim. Essentially, people are saying she needs to learn a different kind of defense, not just that one kind. The second is there's a lot of people high on Fam. I have not yet seen any tape of her. I'm doing my watching of college games right now and watching a lot of these prospects right now. I have not had the chance to watch her. A lot of people are really high on her though. The thing about foreign-born players, it always takes an extra year or two, unless they're a transcendent player. It always takes an extra year or two for them to learn the system, for them to come over from Europe or wherever they're playing and learn the system. Um, Sometimes there's a bit of a language barrier that also doesn't help. Um, but these things are minuscule into what people think her actual talent is and where her ceiling is. People think Fam's ceiling is higher than Betts. I think it's the other way around. Um, and the fourth line of thought is that with the Dallas Wings, you have Paige Beckers, who's a guard, a scoring guard, can pass the ball, but is a scoring guard. And you take somebody who is more familiar with Paige, and Paige is more familiar with her. You take AZ Fudd, top left of your screen, her girlfriend. To me, there's a conflict of interest there. If if we go through this season, right, and AZ Fudd puts her stamp on this season, and they win a national championship or whatever at UConn, and she's undeniably the number one pick, right? You take her. That's the right thing to do. You take her. If she comes out and she is just the number one pick over the course of the next couple months, and then into the college basketball playoffs, and she looks like the number one pick, you take her. Again, guards don't win championships. They help you win championships, but they don't win MVPs in the WNBA. They guards don't win MVPs. They don't really make a huge difference in the playoffs unless they're well established, right? Think Jackie Young of this past playoff run. Think Kalia Copper of this last playoff run for the Mercury and Vegas, respectively. Think Chelsea Gray, who's a many year vet in this league. It takes a while for guards, and I personally don't think AZ Fudd's a number one pick sort of player. I think Betts, I think Fam is a number one pick sort of players, and those are the four trains of thought you can go on. I think Dallas should just play it safe unless you see something really spectacular from Fam or Fudd over the next calendar, or this next calendar year, um, or the not calendar year, I guess next couple months would be 6 to 10 months or so. Um, you take Betts, unless Betts show the opposite side. Unless Betts shows you something that you really don't like her defense is just atrocious. You can't have a somewhat mediocre defender and Beckers and a bad defender in Betts as your one and two building a team. That just doesn't work. When you have two bad defenders as your number one and number two player, it never works out. Those are the trains of thought though. Now, if we go through this, right, and we say Dallas gets them one pick and they take Betts, right? Then we move on to what would be projected the number two pick would be going to the Minnesota Lynx. We already talked about the Lynx. Moving on to um, number three in Seattle, you would look to probably take a guard at this spot. And there's a plethora of guards: Az Fudd, Flage, Olivia Miles. I'm a bit higher on Fudd than I am Miles, but I think if you want some more offensive pop and you want somebody who is a bit more willing to pass, you would take Miles. And you're working with a team in Seattle who already had a pick last year. They took Dominic Mongola, who I think is very good. I think again the foreign born play takes a couple extra years to get adjusted to the WNBA pace, the size, the defense, the offense. I think having those two, having Miles and having um, Mongola would be good, but that would indicate to me that you're going into a full rebuild, and that would mean Guma K's out. That would mean Skylar Diggins is out. These are veteran players on that Seattle team already that you probably move away from or try to move away from unless they want to be a part of a rebuild. Um, I would I would I'm talking myself in the miles at three. Yeah, I'm talking myself in the miles at three, and then you get to Washington at four, projected at four. You could take a big. You could take. You could take. You could take Fam. You could take Flage. There's Latson also here who we talked about, who's not on your screen, but 20 point per game score in college, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. I should be telling you guys these numbers. I apologize, but we're not doing too much of a deep dive yet. We're just doing the lottery. There's no need for a true deep dive. But I would low key sort of like AZ Fudd in Washington, because you already have a big in Washington with they got rid of Edwards. Who's the other one? They took her last year. Kiki Ariafin. Duh. So you already have a big. You're already moving in sort of the direction of not a full rebuild. You do have Georgia Amore already here as a guard. She's coming off an injury though. I think you roll the dice. I think you take Fudd at 4. If Fudd's there at 4 for Washington, you take her. You take her. Yeah, you take her. Yeah. You take her. Yeah. You take her. Duh. Yeah, duh. You take her. You take her. Yeah, you take her. You take her. Totally. You totally take her. Because then you have a surplus of guards, and you sort of do a 76ers process where you get a bunch of guards, you throw them out there, or you in the Sixers in the past, you get a bunch of centers, you throw them out there, which one sticks, they stick, and you go forward with them. And you could have a backcourt of Citron and Fudd, or Georgia Moore and Citron, or Citron and whatever. Um, Citron's already shown a lot of flashes this past season as a rookie. Um, I like that, yeah. And then we move into 5, and you have Chicago there at 5, and then you probably get the reward of either Miles or Flage, and similar thing with Fudd and Beckers in Dallas, conflict of interest, but not too much. You have Angel Reese, who's already in Chicago, and you have um, Flage Johnson, both played, or Flage is playing at UCL or LSU, and Reese played at LSU. So you have some familiarity there. Do you go for the familiarity, or do you go try to get a guard, your dynamic guard that you've been dying to have, um, and you go get Miles? I think this team is so deep in the rebuild. They're so deep. You just go Miles. You go for the better talent in Miles, and you let Miles and Reese figure it out. And they have Camila Cardosa, so you already have your two forwards. You get your guard of the future, and that's a great setup for Chicago after the blunder of the last 2 years, with Angel Reese and Camila. And then you get into the expansion teams. To the left side, to the right side of your screen, the Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo. Took almost 20 minutes to talk about them, but they're at 6 and 7, and you're sort of left with, I don't want to say the scraps of the lottery. If somebody falls, you take them. Obviously, if any of these was this 5 players fall, you take them. But um, I mean that would put Farm right in this range. Um, if again, like we talked about with Minnesota, they trade the pick. Whoever takes the pick, they might take Farm just for the raw talent aspect. But if Farm does fall to 6 or 7, you take her. Right? If you're the Portland Fire or the Toronto Temple as the expansion team with with nobody on your roster essentially, you take them as your building block, as your cornerstone piece. Um, you also have, again, you have Kiki Rice here, Latson's here again. Let's see, Sarah Williams is here. Um, yeah, you got all these players here, and um, I think that's where we'll stop talking about the lottery itself. I mean, I do want to talk about Chicago probably needing this number 1 pick. They probably won't get it, but they're probably the most desperate team that needs it next to Dallas. Seattle is sort of in flux again. They're sort of, um, are they rebuilding? Are they still trying to compete a little bit? I don't know. I really don't know. And then you have Washington. If Washington gets the number 1 pick, then hell, you probably take Betts or Fudd. Um, or I mean, yeah, Betts or Fudd. I mean, maybe go Flage. Is Flage number 1 pick talent though? I don't think so. So yeah, right here at the end, I do want to talk about um a post I had on Reddit, and I asked the WNBA community on Reddit, draft prospects and parts of their game that need to develop. And we'll just run through this really quickly. Um, Parts of their game that need to develop, like passing, defense, awareness, better shot selection, stuff like that. And a lot of the a lot of players people were talking about in these comments were the players I've already talked about. So I think I'll fit it in right here. One of the top comments is about let's see, let me get her name completely right. Tanaya Lotson here. Um, this user says Tanaya Lotson needs to show she can defend her she can defend, and her passing needs to improve a little as well. Many of her assists last year were just throws to ball, and KK, who would out jump people. Olivia Miles needs to show she can stick with point guards who have any sort of speed and has to hit her shot more consistently. I would like Betts to show at least 10 feet, at least a 10-foot jumper, and do anything more uh, defensively other than drop and defense. Um, I agree with all those things. Olivia Miles, this is another user says this. Olivia Miles needs to show her shooting last year wasn't a fluke. She also is slight for a point guard in the W. I would agree with that. I mean, where's Miles right here? 5'10", 5'10" for Olivia Miles. Do they have a weight here? They don't have a weight here, but she's 5'10". Okay. Yeah, 5'10" is a little small. That's hovering around like Haley Van Lith size from last year. If you watch the WNBA at all, Haley Van Lith on Chicago, she was around that size as well, and she didn't fare too well defensively either. Um, this is another comment from the same user about Easy Fudd. Fudd needs to show she can do things other than score. I agree with that completely. Um, I think that's why it was so appealing for her to go to Dallas as the number one pick is that she just the familiarity with Paige Beckers. She's a scorer. Paige is a scorer as well, but Paige is more likely to pass than Fudd, and they would just make a good backcourt. I'm just not sold on that as a whole. Flage has to show more ability off ball. I agree with that as well. Betts has to expand her game, her range beyond the paint, and improve in defensive and in space. Yeah, because space in the WNBA is a lot. Is the thing like you take a player like Lauren Betts, you bet on her, no pun intended, to become to become somewhat of a Asia Wilson in the sense of Asia Wilson doesn't need a three to be a four-time MVP. She's done so well in her career without having a 3 point shot. You look at Betts and you say that's the ultimate goal. Are you going to get there? Probably not, because Asia Wilson is historically great. If you could land somewhere in that stratosphere, then you deserve to go number one. You know what I mean? So I think that's what you're operating under. Some other comments here. Let's see. Um, this one is from another user. And this one's about Sarah Williams. I think the most intriguing player in this draft is Sarah Williams. The talent is there, but she was way too passive at Wisconsin to be anything more than a role player in the W. Question is, does the environment bring it out of her more, or bring more dog out of her? There are definitely glimpses in the FSU game. If she's confident, having fun again, and playing great defense as they make their tournament run this season, she could upset the current lottery prognostications. That's a big word. Wow. Congrats to you for using that big word. Yeah, from what I've seen from Sarah Williams and the few UConn games I've watched, I like her. I like her offensively. I think this happens with a lot of female bigs, and I think one of the female bigs that has made that transition from the college to the WNBA level seamlessly and still uses that same aggressiveness is Aaliyah Boston. I think if I'm a big in this draft, I look at Aaliyah Boston as the blueprint of bringing up my aggression, bringing up my defensive um, consistency, and I look at her in Aaliyah Boston in Indiana and what she can do. As some people think Aaliyah Boston is the number one player in in Indiana right now, like as a fever player, because Caitlin Clark has missed a bunch of time. I would look at her and be like, that's who I need to be in the WNBA. And I think that's who Sarah Williams should look at as well. Um, Another comment here says AZ just needs to have more confidence in herself. I don't know if I agree with that completely. I think sometimes overconfidence can be misconstrued as underconfidence because you're just overcompensating for something, if that makes sense. Um, Here was the comment that I got my thought from where um, Olivia Miles is more Haley Van Lith size, but Hannah Hidalgo, who also um, isn't on this draft board because I don't think she's declared for the draft or like is given indication that she's going to go for the draft. But Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame, um, and this user says Hannah Hidalgo had a bad game, but it made her think of Haley Van Lith and how she really struggled in the W. Yes, she was injured, so that needs to be taken into account. But I think their height is a huge disadvantage. Michigan proved that they can easily take Hannah Hidalgo out of the game by putting one extra person on her, which is easier in college because not everybody needs to be guarded closely. But I do wonder if there's a chance Hannah Hidalgo struggles like Haley Van Lith. Um, and that's a oh, now we have one more here. This user says um, this is about Flajay Johnson. Oh, this is just a filler comment. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's the video talking about the WNBA draft lottery, talking about the WNBA prospects in this year's college season and where they might go, where they could end up, what's going on with the Lynx. Could the Lynx trade their pick? Again, I want to give you the lottery odds. The Wings have a 420% chance out of 1,000. The Lynx have a 261 chance out of 1,000. The Storm have a 167 chance out of 1,000. And the Mystics have a 97% chance out of 1,000. And the Sky have a 55% chance out of 1,000. As for the number one pick, and then wherever they else might follow, where everybody else might fall is between 2 and 5 for the lottery. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. Um, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out my WNBA playlist, my women's basketball playlist. I'll put it in the top right corner. You can click it; it will take you right to the playlist. Watch some other videos. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.